So, Dr. Higgins, why are you always talking about race in every single thing that you do? Hey everybody, Dr. John Paul here with another topic that I'd like to start calling critical conversations. So as you all may or may not know, for the last couple of months, I've spent a lot of my time talking about race and how different issues in the LGBTQ community affect me as a queer man of color, with specifics to how we talk about race and how oftentimes I, as well as other queer people of color, feel silenced when they talk about racial injustice. What I wanted to do in this video was talk a little bit about the history of race and why it's so important for me to highlight that in a lot of the work that I do, and offer up a couple of thoughts around how we can further the conversations without us silencing those who oftentimes are marginalized. So if you've ever been lucky enough to catch one of my keynotes, one of the things that I always do is highlight the experience that Marsha P. Johnson had when she was leading the movement known as Stonewall. If you're not familiar with that movement, Marsha P. Johnson was one of the key exponential people in that movement who helped us get to what we now know as Pride. As years progressed, Marsha's name became further removed from the movement, and as time went on, we started to notice that people who didn't identify as queer people of color were now leading the Pride movement. This also happened in the early 1980s when the movement ACT UP began. There were a lot of queer people of color who were leading that movement and were also pushed out of it as well. As years have progressed, we've noticed that a lot of queer people of color are silenced in social justice movements because ultimately folks will start to say that the way that they handle these issues or talk about these issues are aggressive or they come off as angry. Keep in mind that a lot of queer people of color have the right to be angry because a lot of the things that were created for us in relation to our culture have been stolen. Every time someone goes, "Yes," or every time you hear the word slay used in context, keep in mind that those words were used in ballroom culture, made popular by films like Paris is Burning. Often, no one gives that film any credit for the way that it shaped queer culture as a whole. What's also important for us to understand is that visibility is one thing that queer people of color struggle with. What we have to realize is that it's more than just seeing queer people of color in news or in media, but allowing them to have a platform to use their voice to talk about these critical issues. It's not enough for us just to highlight the issues. It's not enough for us just to talk about them. But at the end of the day, it's important for us to understand our power and our privilege in our voice and how we can use our voice to advocate for those who are marginalized. What folks need to realize is that having conversations around equality is one thing, but also having conversations around equity is another. It's not just enough for me to be able to get married, but it's about me being able to actually see myself in the community. The one thing that we should stop doing is telling queer people of color that by talking about racial issues or talking about discrimination or injustices, that they're creating a divide in the community. Yes, it's painful to address these issues, but if we never do, we're never gonna get anywhere. What could we all be doing to make sure that queer people of color are heard in the community? Well, one, we could stop silencing them. And we can stop telling queer people of color to stop being angry. At the end of the day, we all know that all of the great things that we have in the community came from anger. Again, we wouldn't even have half of the freedoms that we do have if we didn't have angry people leading the movement. We'll never be able to get anywhere if we always seem to find defense in the way that we talk about issues that pertain to us. I definitely want to say thank you to every single person who not only continues to check out my videos, but for folks who support the work that I do. If you haven't, take the time to tell other people to subscribe to my channel, but also you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, where I love to keep these conversations going. You can find me by using the handle @DoctorJonPaul. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I promise that there will be more videos that are going to come regularly in the next couple of weeks. Thanks for watching, and take care of yourself. Bye!